Hi, my name is Robert Farrell. I'm going to tell you a little story about what happened to me in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I know everybody down there said they had a tough time understanding me, so I'm going to have a Southern girl narrate the story to you.
Okay, here we go.
Here you go.
In the next few videos, I would like to explain to you the dishonest acts which include corruption, bias, fraud, and conspiracy by the South Carolina legal system, law enforcement, attorneys, Conway National Bank, and WIT General Contractors of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. To begin, I opened a business checking account with WIT General Contractors, Wilbur Witt Jr., President, and Kim Witt, Vice President at the Conway National Bank for the purpose of completing the construction on a home in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which I had just purchased. It was mutually agreed by all parties the construction of the house would cost between $80,000 and $100,000 and take 3 months to complete. The account was opened on November 2004 and construction on the house began December 2004. It is important to mention that Kim Witt was employed with Conway National Bank during this time. On January 28, 2005, Will Witt asked if he could borrow $20,000 for a race car venture that he had entered into. He stated he would only need the funds for 1 month. I agreed and asked that he take the funds from our business checking account as long as he would return the funds in 1 month. In March, I asked Witt about the loan. He stated his partner Tony was working on getting my money back. I told him I would need the money to complete the house. Witt waited until I had deposited $90,000 into the account, not counting the $20,000, before contacting me about repayment of the loan. On April 15th, Witt telephoned and stated that he and his partner Tony had the $20,000 to repay me. Instead of returning the loan directly to me, Witt deposited the funds back into the business checking account. I told him the $90,000 that I had deposited should have been sufficient to cover all the expenses, and that the $20,000 should have been paid directly to me. I did not argue with him, thinking that I could always have the funds wired directly to me. In hindsight, I now believe Witt never intended to repay this $20,000 loan. I believe he knew I did not have access to the account at this point in time. I was not aware I did not have access to the funds. Shortly after Witt's $20,000 deposit, I called the Conway National Bank to wire the funds and close the account. They informed me that I was only a signer on the account and did not have rights to close the account, nor did I have any check writing privileges. I would, however, be held personally responsible for all checks written on the account. I explained to C&B about the $20,000 personal loan I had made to Witt that was to be repaid back to me, that the funds were deposited into an account that I do not have access to. The bank advised there was nothing they could do about it. That's how the account was set up. I felt as if they were treating me like I was a criminal instead of the victim who had just deposited $110,000 into their bank. I now realize I made a mistake trusting the Witts with my money and feel due to her employment at the bank I was given unjust treatment. Around May 10th, Will Witt called me and told me he needed another $5,000 more to finish the house. But not to worry, Witt stated, I have someone that wants to buy the house for $500,000. I told him I had already spent more than he had agreed upon and would send him $5,000 more, but that was it. I would not spend another penny on the project. Sometime in early June, I arrived in Myrtle Beach to find the house still not completed. It was obvious I was being taken advantage of and would need to cut my business relationship with the Witts. I decided to go to Conway National Bank and force them to close the business account. After reviewing of our bank statement, I noticed Witt had deposited $20,000 on June 2nd, 2005. At the time, I could not understand why Witt had deposited this money into the account. Later, on July 19th, it became clear he filed a mechanics lien on the property for the loan amount he had made to the account. During my review of our business checking account, I determined there were numerous checks for personal use drawn in the account. There were also business checks from other customers deposited into the account and many questionable bank transfers. I became suspicious and asked to see copies of various checks. My request was denied by the bank and was told I would have to obtain a court-ordered subpoena to do so, which I did. I told the bank one of their own employees and spouses had conspired against me to extort funds from me, and if they did not close the account, I would go to the police. Conway National Bank agreed to place a freeze on the account and would have their legal department review. A few days later, the bank president called me and advised me a mistake had been made on the corporate authorization resolution form and that I was now able to close the account and receive the remaining funds. When I asked what type of mistake had been made, he told me, "Go to the bank, the money is available," and hung up. I feel the wits knowingly conspired to extort money from me. In the fraudulent manner this account was opened and operated. They accomplished this by mailing me the paperwork on 2004 from Conway National Bank in Myrtle Beach to Connecticut. I signed where I was requested to and mailed the documents back to Conway National Bank. On the corporate authorization resolution document, the section pertaining to powers granted was not filled out at that time I signed. The bank later completed this section, excluding me from powers granted on the account. Kim Witt, as well as the Conway National Bank, needs to be investigated for bank fraud. In an attempt to have this crime investigated, I contacted the police. The police made out a report and referred me to the local judge. He assigned an officer by the name of Detective Deal. Mr. Deal worked on the case for 2 days and told me he had been deployed to Iraq and would not be able to investigate the case. When I telephoned to find out who would be taking over the investigation in Mr. Deal's absence, they told me they were short on help and no one was available at this time to work on the case. I have contacted the governor of South Carolina, Attorney General's office, U.S. Attorney General's office, solicitors, ombudsmen, and even the FBI, and have gotten nowhere. My hopes are that once the media's attention sheds its light onto the South Carolina legal system, it will be forced to investigate. I can only hope that the right person will view this video with the authority or contacts to have this matter investigated and brought to justice. Please accept this video and accounts of what transpired as a warning. If you are from the North and you are dealing with Southerners, good old boys, in South Carolina in particularly, be very cautious. Just as one South Carolina attorney told me, you have been homeschooled by the good old boys. In my next video, I will show you copies of the court transcripts and give you examples of what the South Carolina legal system considers a fair trial, with special referee Willard D. Hanna presiding.
Thank you very much. Here's just a couple copies of the court transcript, which I will be showing you later in more detail. When Kim Witt was asked to explain the transfers loan to operations, this is what she stated: "I cannot. It was just a loan of $500 that I borrowed out of the Witt Farrell account." I had a mechanics lien placed on the property for the amount of $32,137.53. South Carolina statute states that in amount equal to 1 1/3 times the amount claimed in such statement is required to bond off a mechanics lien. Seeing I was from the North, I was charged $50,000 to bond off that $32,000 mechanics lien. I'm not the greatest guy with math, but it sounds like we got a difference of at least $7,000. I'm just warning you, if you're from the North, be very careful down in South Carolina or you will be taken advantage of, as I was. Thank you.